Hi, how you doing? I am Ellie Johnson, and this is Isaiah Movement. Today I'm going to talk about the Jesus Revolution. I just seen it, and I have to come out and say that this is probably one of the best Christian movies I've seen in a little while. This movie was phenomenal. I would tell everybody, Christian, non-Christian, you need to go watch this movie. Well done. It's not one of those Christian cheesy movies. It's actually well done movie, and it's really good. I mean, it laughs, there's tears, and it's inspiring. It's really good. Spoiler alert: I will be talking about some scenes in this movie, so I won't go into all the details, but I will be talking about some scenes in this movie. Again, you have to go watch this movie. Give it some support. One of the first things I want to say is, at the end of this movie, there is a Jerry Maguire-level love speech given, and that had me going for a second. I said, oh my, it's not as good as Jerry Maguire, but man, it's close. The love speech that Greg give at that end is like, oh, it's so close. It's almost like Jerry Maguire. Just had to get that out the way. Now, when it comes to this movie, Jesus Revolution, it's about the Jesus movement in the 70s. It was mainly focused around Lonnie Frisbee and Chuck Smith and Greg Laurie. Chuck Smith was the pastor at Calvary Chapel. And Lonnie Frisbee was a guy who was a traveling guy who, was just in love with Jesus, and partnered up with Chuck Smith to start a movement at that church. And they started a little revival at their church, or a movement, whatever you want to call it. And many people started getting saved. It was focused more on the hippies, the hippies that nobody else wanted anything to do with. But they was focused on the hippies, and a lot of the hippies was getting saved. And it's just so much to it that it's just such a wonderful movie. And again, you have to go watch it. Now, there's a couple of things that while I was watching it, just stood out to me, and I was like, that's so interesting. The first thing is, when we think it's so bad that it can never be improved, that's usually when God shows up. And God only needs one person to show up. In the beginning of the movie, they showed Pastor Chuck was talking about, oh man, they're talking about the hippies, how he was talking about they just need to be washed, they're dirty, this and that. And then he was talking like it was the end times because, oh my, this is so wild, everybody's so crazy, the hipsters are just so crazy, that the sin is just so great that we're coming to the end. And in his mind, it was one of those situations where there is no hope. He was thinking there is no hope for where we was going. It's got to be the end time. But yet, when we reach that kind of point where we see no hope, or we see no way out, that's usually when God steps in and says, now I can show up, and now I can move in the way that I want to move. And again, God only needs one person to do what he wants to do, or to start what he wants to start. The second thing is, God always moves in the unlikely moments, like moments that you're like, wait, this is such a coincidence. Or you like, I don't know how this happened, right? So Pastor Chuck was talking about how he would like to meet a person, and I put my quotation fingers on because he wasn't serious. He would like to meet a hippie so he can ask them about them. But he really didn't mean it. So his daughter just happened to see Lonnie hitchhiking, and she picked him up, and that is how Chuck Smith met Lonnie Frisbee. So they met because his daughter picked him up and said, you gotta meet my father. Insane, crazy moments. And that's what God used. God uses these crazy moments that we will be like, we think are just coincidence. The third thing is, we all deal with walls that hold us back to going to the next level where God wants us to go to. And then the key is, it's a matter of, do we deal with the wall or do we not deal with the wall? Now, Pastor Chuck had a wall where he had an issue where his wall was he had something against the hippies. He had an issue with the hippies. And him dealing with that wall is the only way that the Lord was going to be able to get him to that next level where he was actually ministering to thousands of people and preaching to thousands of people and baptizing thousands of people. If Pastor Chuck didn't deal with the wall of his judgment on hippies and actually start to accept them, there would have never been no movement in Calvary Chapel. The fourth thing is, just like God used unlikely situations, unlikely moments, God used unlikely people. We have a movement coming. The Lord is going to move. He's going to do it. It's a movement coming. He's going to wash over this generation, just like he washed over that generation in the 70s. Now the key is, and the crazy thing is, it's not going to be with the people that we think it should be. We're looking at certain people and we're like, oh, he's going to be ahead of it, or she's going to be ahead of it, or they're going to lead it. It's not going to be who we think it is. It's going to be a whole bunch of people that the Lord had in the cut. We just don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to be the unlikely people. We're going to be like, I actually didn't see that coming from them. The fifth thing is something that Lonnie said. Lonnie said, when he was having the first meeting with Pastor Chuck, he said, how can you not see it? There's a whole generation of people searching for God. And what he was saying is people was out there, they was doing their drugs, they was going to these concerts, and they was promoting love because they was searching for something. And they didn't know it. They didn't understand it, that they were searching for God. They were searching for the void to be filled with God, but they thought it was the drugs and everything like that. But it wasn't the drugs. It was their search for God, and that is the same thing that is happening with this generation that we have right here. If you look at Philadelphia, if you look at certain places in California, if you look at New York, even here where I live, the people are searching, and they're searching with drugs, and they're searching with alcohol, and they're searching with putting their identities in certain kind of movements. They're searching with sleeping around. They are on a search for what? For God. But we don't see that. What we see is, look at that drug addict. Look at that sloozy. Look at that person, that alcoholic. Look at that person over there that just don't know who they are and think that this movement that they are trying to join in is who they are. Look at them. They're disgusting. That's what the church see. But God actually sees that, no, they are searching. The sixth thing that I noticed was that it showed the process of salvation. Like, there was a scene where the drummer was like, oh, we'll be here next Sunday, but the drummer won't be here because he got to finish his probation for 3 months. Well, his jail sentence for 3 months. And everybody clapped like he was like, yeah, it happens, right? They showed that they was going through the process of salvation. Like, when you get saved, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be 100%. You're going to make mistakes. You still have to deal with the mistakes that you made before you got saved. What they were showing us was, they were showing us, hey, yeah, you get saved, but the Lord's going to help you walk through the mistakes that you made. And even if it means you have to go to jail for 3 months, the Lord's still going to be there and walk you through it. When you get out, then you'll be back here playing drums for us. Seventh thing that I've noticed was there is a danger of becoming self-focused. And when I say that is, if you watch the whole movie, you can see that Lonnie became self-focused and Chuck became self-focused. But they became self-focused in two different ways. Lonnie became self-focused, meaning, oh, the greatness that I'm doing. This is all goodness, good coming from me. Chuck became self-focused, meaning, I've messed everything up. I've dropped the ball. God cannot use me because I messed up. Both of them are self-focused, but they're on different spectrums of the self-focus line. We have to be careful when it comes to being used for God. It causes us to want to become self-focused, whether it's self-focus of I did this, I'm so great, or self-focus of I can't do this, I'm nobody. I am useless. I've made too many mistakes. Both are bad. We cannot do either one. We cannot be self-focused. We have to stay focused on God. Focus on Christ. Focus on the cross. Focus on what the Holy Spirit is telling us to do. And understand that by His grace, I am enough. And by His grace, He is using me. It's all about His grace. It's not that I'm too great, or it's not that I'm too weak. It is His grace that do it. If I didn't have His grace, I couldn't do it. If I didn't have His grace, I couldn't do it. On both sides, I couldn't do it without His grace. It's about God. God is doing it. We shouldn't be self-focused. And that's so hard because humans love to focus on themselves. We love it. It's something that we do. We thrive on it. Me, right? But it's not about us. We're supposed to die to ourselves. Die to ourselves. That is one of the keys. Again, great movie. I would tell everybody to go watch it. I'm going to actually talk to my sister to see if she can get her church to go and watch it. It's a phenomenal movie. And I want to thank you for watching this movie. It's a slash review slash what I got out of it kind of thing. But thank you. Please like, share, subscribe. Till the next one. Thank you very much.